Hey everybody, welcome to episode 44 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam, that is Mel, and as you can see, we have a special guest with us today.
Our special guest is Mr. David Lovell from everything. You're like the master of
Jack of all trades, master of none.
You're like the fight game media, and I think of you as the fight game media ambassador. You're responsible for like all of our Mount Rushmores. You do all of our.
I am very active on there, aren't I? Yeah.
So, how's it going? Welcome. I'm glad we could get you on. You said you wanted to come on, and we were both like,
yeah, I'm absolutely delighted to come on because obviously the last time we spoke was on my podcast.
Right.
I actually haven't done a podcast since because I couldn't top it, you see. So that's as good as it gets.
Yeah, okay. No. Well, that worked.
Sam was the end. See?
Well, I'm glad
Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm sure you can relate to this. We enjoy doing these shows, but we also want people to listen to them as well. And with so much content out there and so many podcasts available, it's like, can I really compete with everyone else? Because I haven't got time to listen to all the podcasts I want to listen to.
Right.
So how can I expect someone else to listen to mine? So I've got so many things going on. I'm sure I'll get back to doing it again soon, though, but I haven't done one for a while.
But I'm glad that we were able to get on there before you took a break.
Well, and I kind of like the how I caught the wrestling bug.
I love that
it's
idea.
Kind of evergreen because at any moment when you hear a person that's on our network or you see one of us, you've managed to have just about everyone that does content on the network. And so if you want to get to know one of us in our background, it's on the free feed. Yeah. It's right on the Fight Game free feed. So.
And also, obviously, the shows aren't about current news either. So you can go back and listen at any time and it's still going to be relevant no matter when you listen to it.
Exactly.
Even though one of the questions we always ask is, if you could change one thing about wrestling, what would it be? And I always joked, but apart from the fact that getting rid of Vince, what would you do? But I can't say that anymore because Vince is gone. Unless he comes back, of course. Unless he comes back.
Please no.
We shouldn't speak too soon. He might come back, but let's hope not.
I hate I hate the wrestling aspect of the fact that that's possible. It makes me even I have started watching a little bit of WWE again just to see what I can see.
It's so much better. Now.
It's just,
it's like night and day compared to how it was when Vince was running it to how it is now. I mean, it's still got problems. Don't get me wrong. I still rather watch AEW.
Yeah, but, right. Yeah, they definitely. I've watched bits here and there, and I mean, we've talked about it before. It's not like Triple H had to do a whole lot to up the bar and be better than Vince. It's the bar is on the floor. So
there is no bar now.
Yeah, so but he has. I will give him credit. He has done some stuff that has really seemed to improve, and and we've talked about it. Competition's good for everybody. So, and there's only so many places that people can go and be on TV. So you want companies to thrive.
And also look at the number of guys that he brought back that Vince had got rid of.
Right.
I'm sure if he was able to, he would have brought back Aleister Black and Andrade and all the. But it's and obviously Keith Lee. But I think it's fantastic the fact that Vince is gone. Let's be honest. I mean, it was, and I think it's I can't say I'm surprised that Vince wants to come back, but you would think he'd realise there's no way. There's no way, surely, he could come back.
No. And you would think also you would see how much, I think they said that it's gone up for like 15%. So I was like, he's probably making more money now.
Then, if he comes back now, you're heading into sort of WrestleMania time, the road to WrestleMania, and business always goes up.
Yeah, exactly.
In the run to WrestleMania. And he could come back and take credit if he wanted to.
Of course he
probably would.
Of course he would.
Of course
he was. It would be like it would literally be. It was me the whole time.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Again, it would be the 21st century version of it was me all along. I thought that it was my idea to step away from the company to make it better and then come back.
Yeah.
No, in a run-in at WrestleMania in
that's
LA.
What, and that Mr. McMahon character would be on TV like immediately. If he came back, he would immediately.
the scandal broke, I mean, he immediately put himself on TV.
Sure did. And they completely, and fans treated him like the Mr. McMahon character. Oh God, it was so gross watching that.
It was disgusting. Yeah.
And those fans like applauding him, and I'm like, it's gross. It's like, I mean, he knew what he wanted. I mean, it's his. We've talked about. I mean, it's his ego, and he has to have that. And he knows, oh, I can just go get in front of TV, and people will bow down to. They will literally bow down in the crowd, chant for me. And so, let me come out here now. And yeah, I was like, this is why you can't be on TV, because this is what will happen. So I hope they find a way for him to block every possible way for him to come back.
I just don't know. Like, you guys are both exactly right, and there's like the piece of it that's like businessy is, but I think that we often overestimate because we are involved, and I stick to this. Who knows about things? I bet you a lot of those fans don't know about a lot of what's going on with him.
Well, the people who aren't on social media, they don't know because they're not. And because
even if you're on social media, it doesn't necessarily mean, like, in your wrestling fan, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have any earthly idea of what's kind of going on in the margins, because I have a couple of people in my life regularly that are WWE fans, and it's almost as if they don't seem to. Either they're consciously or subconsciously or consciously blocking it out.
Right.
Or they are genuinely ill-informed of what is going on.
Well, I think part of the issue is because the mainstream
Monday night football game. Like, well, that's all they care about.
Mainstream media doesn't cover it because it's just wrestling. And so it's wrestling media who covers it for the most part. I mean, yes, Wall Street Journal broke this story, but how many people, I mean, a lot of people who actually read Wall Street Journal, they don't care about pro wrestling. That's not a story to them. They don't care. And then the people who do watch it, a lot of them don't read the Wall Street Journal. And then the mainstream media is not paying attention to it at all, like they did with the Me Too movement. And so they're just, it's basically, it's up to wrestling media and podcasters and content creators and fans basically to talk about it because nobody else will do it for us. So.
Well, this is very Christmas. This is super Christmassy. This is a really upbeat way to start.
Let's move on.
Let's do. So as you can tell by our holiday garb that we all have on, that this episode is mostly going to be Halloween. Holiday is where I was going with that, and then
that's okay. I get Halloween and Christmas mixed up a lot because they're both excellent holidays.
They are excellent holidays, but yes, holiday is where I was going with that. And then I was going to say there will be a little bit more wrestling stuff towards the end. No more Vince. We're done with that, unless in one of the questions, that topic might come back up again.
Could come up, yeah.
It'll come up, but for now, we're gonna switch gears and get to the Christmas side of things, especially because when this episode airs, it'll be just we're closing in on Christmas, and obviously
it's Christmas Day, Sam. Remember?
Sorry,
it's Christmas.
It's Christmas.
We're doing this on Christmas because in my heart. We love you. We're talking to you from the future.
Sure, go with it.
Whatever.
All right, so we came up with some different topics that we wanted to talk about, and I actually ended up having to make notes because one of the questions we'll get to in a minute, I was like, oh, I only need 3, and then I was like, I have more than 3 apparently. Like, now that I've actually stopped to think about it, so I was like, I have to make notes for this. So I guess, do we want to just get right into these topics?
I definitely want to get into them because I know when we get to the music section, you two are going to have, that's why I put it towards the end, because I knew
it's probably a good thing.
I was like, we need to shift the music stuff to the another section. So
all right,
we'll get to that. That's fun, but yeah.
Okay, so our first topic is holiday traditions. So David, do you have any holiday traditions that you try to stick to every year?
Not really. I mean, I just like to spend time with the family. I mean, I don't think there's anything in particular. When I was younger, obviously we used to get up and I mean, most people have stockings. We actually had like pillowcases.
Nice.
So we would have the presents in pillowcases, because stockings, you can't really get much in a stocking.
No, you can't.
No.
So yeah, that was always something that I don't know if people did that generally speaking, but we always used to, was to fill the pillowcases with presents.
Way better. That seems way better.
Yeah, I don't know why that didn't why more people don't do that. It seems
especially because like we've never had like a fireplace, so our stockings were either just like sat out like in a chair, like with because I have a sister, so like it would be like my gifts and then her gifts, and then like our stockings would be with it or something like that. And so pillowcases probably would have been even better.
We had the kind of house that to get to the upstairs, it was like up the front door was like, so you went straight in, and there was a tiny little banister, just a tiny little decorative piece that was like built into sort of everything. And that's where we used to hang our stockings. That's like, that's where everybody's stockings were. But it was like behind the couch kind of thing. So it was like, it was always kind of awkward. But yeah, this pillowcase idea needs to be a thing. Like,
needs to be a thing. Yeah,
maybe
I can start it. Yeah, maybe it can be something like
let's start that. Let's make that a thing.
That's excellent.
What did you sort of leave out for Santa normally? Because I mean, milk and cookies apparently is a big thing there.
Yeah, that's what we always left out, was milk and cookies. It was, I think that's what sometimes we never did, but some people would like leave out carrots or celery for the reindeer.
Oh,
we started doing that as we got a little older, because my sister was that kid. She would, she was constantly thinking about like all of that stuff. So she was the one that got us started with the carrots. But one of our family traditions was to actually bake Christmas cookies. My mom had this thing she pulled out of the paper like a million years ago that was our Christmas cookie recipe forever. I mean, it's still, I need to call her and get it because I know she still has it. But we would make the cookies, and then that's the cookies we would leave for Santa. And you could decorate them. We would do sprinkles and little
Santa got store-bought cookies at my house.
Yeah. Well, I mean
sometimes we would, but I think somebody would we would get baked cookies from like a relative or something like that. But yeah, I think Santa got store-bought cookies or they have, or those like the ones that are the pre-cut ones, and they have like the Santa design on them, or like the reindeer, and then you would, or like snowmen, I think is what they had, and then you just pop them in the oven and cook them that way. That's what we did a lot, and I think that's actually the cookies that Santa mostly got were those,
the like Pillsbury ones, right?
Yeah,
they like have like the stars and the Christmas trees, and those came in handy later on, because I stopped doing, obviously, I mean, having dough and everything, that's like a kid thing, and we all got older, but I mean, that was definitely the reason I wanted to ask this one, was just because I kind of threw it in there in the beginning, because sometimes there is something different, like the pillowcase thing.
And like Nikki, and the first thing that came to mind, and actually it was funny because I was at physical therapy with Nikki the other day, and they asked if we had any traditions, and she said the same thing that I was going to say here, was that on Christmas Eve, she and I always exchange gifts, because usually around Christmas Eve on my dad's side of the family, that's when we would have a Christmas party, and so we'd of course open gifts there, and then we would get home and still want to open gifts, and so the way to get around to convince our parents to let us open a gift was to open our gifts to each other, and so that's still our tradition that we still do every single Christmas Eve. We still exchange gifts.
That's really nice, though. I like that.
So that's
really cool.
Yeah. So we always make sure that that we do that, and usually it's late at night, and so and we open them like by the Christmas tree, so it's fun. It's a nice little tradition that we keep going. I guess it's been a tradition that started, I guess, within the last few years, is we put up the Christmas tree the day after Thanksgiving. It used to be a little bit later, but then for a little bit, for the company that I work for, we used to travel like the first week or so of December, and so the tree would get put up twice. The tree got put up without me, and then I got home like it was like the trip would either be right at the beginning of December, or it'd be like the second week of December, so I wouldn't get to have the tree up that long, and so we started putting it up the day after Thanksgiving, and then we leave it up until sometimes we take it down January the 1st, sometimes we take it down that week. But we've gotten where because we all love Christmas and we like looking at lights and things like that. Sometimes we'll put up some of the other decorations, but leave the tree up until then. But then, I mean, if I could, I'd probably just leave it up for a long time. I love having a Christmas tree. Like I have, you can't see it because of the lighting. I have to take a picture of it, but I have Christmas lights on my bookshelf, and
they're Instagram for that.
We do have an Instagram for that. I have to post it there. But yeah, I bought it like it was on clearance for like 80 cents at Walmart, and they were purple. And I was like, I'll just get them. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And then it ended up helping a lot during the pandemic because we obviously couldn't really leave that much. And I work from home. So it was a nice kind of transition from like work to home as I would plug those lights in. Or if I was having like a really crappy day, or it was like overcast outside, then I would just like plug in the lights. And I still do, like if it's a rainy day or something like that, I'll plug them in. So that's a nice little, I was like, so I definitely have gotten my 80 cents out of it for the last 3 years.
That's good though, because you need that stuff in those times, especially like this time. I mean, now we're on the other side of it. We got through solstice, so we're on the side where we get more daylight hours.
Yeah, finally
towards it. But it's like, it's tough, like, and those are easy ways to like have fun. I mean, I this year, for the first time in my entire life, it just got too pricey, and I'm getting very like environmentalisty about it, where I'm like, should I really have a live tree? And is that really sustainable? And I'm like,
we have an artificial tree.
Yeah, no, Brian. So my mother-in-law, they have all kinds of stuff. They're stuff collectors from various TV and online websites. They're QVC ladies. And so they have this like Christmas tree that's too big for them. It was a 6-foot Christmas tree, and it was like one of the like top of line Christmas trees years ago. So it's been sitting in their basement. They don't use it. So she was like, well, if you can get out of the basement, you guys can have it. And other than there's like 2 blue lights that flicker on it, it's like, and it's the perfect size for our tiny little house. Like we had to do a little finagling with the star. But all in all, it's like, and it looks real, and it's more responsible, and it's not going to end up in a landfill, and it'll be easier for Bob and I because we're not getting any younger. And it's like, and it's genuinely heavy because it has a really like solid stand.
Yeah.
We have like a tiny little picture window, so it's really nice. And so every time it gets like dusk right here is when I turn it on. And I think I'm going to start moving closer to Thanksgiving, especially given that we'll have that.
Right. Yeah, that's why. Because we use artificial tree, so that's another reason we put it up so early, is because it has this little box, and it plays music. It cycles through like 12 songs. I mean, sometimes it gets a little annoying because you hear the same songs all the time. So but luckily you can turn the volume down. So like, even if we're watching TV, it's like very faint in the background. I mean, you have the option to turn the volume completely off and just have the lights on the tree and all that. So it's nice. But yeah, it is definitely more environmentally friendly. And we thought it was broken this year, and we thought we were going to have to get a new one. But my mom was able to do some magic with it, and she figured out a way to get it, and it's perfectly fine. So I was like, thank goodness, because I would have been really sad if we had to get a new tree, because we've had that one for a while and it's really nice. So
Bob introduced me to that little gadget that you can plug into the lights, and it will find the like duds for you.
Oh, that's nice.
You can get it like at Lowe's and anywhere. I mean, you probably get it at Walmart. You get it at like any of the True Values or whatever.
Do you get the little, I mean, I know you just got this tree, so maybe you haven't, but there's like those, you can buy those sticks. I forget what they're called, but they smell like Christmas tree, so that you can hang them around the tree so that you still have the scent of a Christmas tree. And so that's what we do. And the scent lasts for a really long time. Like sometimes you can't smell it as strongly, and then sometimes I'll be sitting on the couch next to it and I'll just get like a really strong whiff of it.
Is it car air freshener pine, or is it like legit? Like,
no, it's legit. Smells like pine. No lie, like not. It doesn't smell like air freshener. It smells like a real Christmas tree.
Because that's I think that's the big thing that I'll miss And
and so that's why I got those things. They sell them in like a little tube at like Walmart and different places, and I think they come like 10 in a tube or something. And they have little holes and little hooks in them so that you can just hang them around the tree. And usually, like, depending on the size of your tree, but like I think we only have like 3 or 4 on there right now.
I'll have to get them deep on the inside of there because Bear will try to chew those.
Oh yeah, you definitely have to watch the dogs with that for sure.
All right. So the next thing that we had on our holiday fun episode here is, because you have to do this, is your favorite holiday movies. And I mean, we're only going to narrow it down to 3. Obviously, we can all because it's like, but we're like just kind of the top 3 that you want to make sure that you get a watch in of. So who wants to go first on this one? Let's have David go first.
Shall I go first? Yeah. Well, for me, my favorite Christmas film is It's a Wonderful Life.
Nice.
That's my favorite.
Choice.
I don't know. I mean, top 3. I mean, Gremlins. Would you consider that a Christmas film?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm 100% on the Gremlins.
Absolutely agree with that. She loves Gremlins. You know, it's funny. I watched parts of it as a kid, but I didn't watch it all the way through until last year.
Oh, that's awesome. That's actually fun.
Because I think also part of it is that it wasn't something that was shown all the time on TV and things like that. So it wasn't, and then they started showing it more often and I would catch parts of it. And so, so last year, it was funny because my dad he came over and we were like we exchanged gifts and stuff like that. And then we were trying to find something to watch and my sister was like, oh, Gremlins is on. And he's like, oh, I haven't watched that in a really long time. And I was like, I've never seen it all the way through. And he was like, all right, well, we're fixing that. So Gremlins, I think. And so now I definitely think it's a Christmas movie, but now I definitely would associate it with Christmas because of that. So I agree. It is a Christmas film.
I'm 100% on there. Yeah, go.
Is Die Hard a Christmas film or not?
I have not seen Die Hard.
So you've not seen Die Hard?
I haven't.
You haven't. We're starting to
and
learn.
It's funny because we always that's what we say. We're like, we're gonna watch it, and it I know what I think part of it too is because I know what happens. Thanks to VH1's I Love the 80s and all those shows, they spoil everything. And so I'm like, okay. And so I just never, and then I planned to watch it last year and I just never got around to it.
There's a sub show growing here because we're now figuring out that Sam has something of a movie deficiency.
Which is funny because you
haven't seen Can't Buy Me Love either. We found out
on my ad.
I've not seen that either.
I am planning to watch that next week because Mike Gilbert's gonna he's already mad at me about that.
We can do Sam watches movies.
I have seen it. It makes it sound like I have seen a lot of movies. Look, when my dad was when I was 15, he was stationed in Bosnia. And so we had a Blockbuster down the street and we came in every weekend and we would rent 4 movies.
Everything. As much as you could.
So I've seen, I mean, yes, there would be repeat things, but I have seen a lot of things. It's just apparently not there's still a lot that I'm apparently missing out on.
So a lot of my favorite Christmas films are not necessarily Christmas films. They're just films that are set around Christmas because I like Batman Returns as well, which is set at Christmas time.
Batman Returns. Yeah.
So I actually went and had a look at the because we did a Mount Rushmore of the Christmas films on the Fight Game Facebook group, and Home Alone was the clear winner.
Yeah,
20 votes.
And I love Home Alone, but I prefer the second one to the first one.
The second one is good.
About that one is that I don't think of that at Christmas. It is a Christmas movie, but I don't think about it, and I haven't watched it since I probably saw it in the actual theater.
Oh my gosh!
Not a joke,
I've watched
kids.
it 3 times this week because
I saw it in the theater. I saw it multiple times in the theater.
I remember renting that as a kid, when it first came out on VHS, when you could rent it. I remember my parents renting that for us to watch. But yeah, I guess for some reason we didn't own the first one, but we owned the second one. So Nikki and I watched it all the time. So we prefer the first one is good and I love it, but the second one we just prefer. And then they both Freeform is playing, like they play it almost every one or both. They either play pretty much, I think they've been playing them back to back. So we've caught that like all week long. It's been on, and so we'll just like flip it over there and like, oh, I guess we'll just watch this, even though we just watched it yesterday.
It's not like one of the ones I think about, and I always forget, and I should give it a watch because I haven't in forever, but my sister and brother-in-law, like that is one of their top 3.
I mean, there's parts of it that don't stand up in 2022.
Obviously.
There's some things where, or we just joke, we're like, why would you do, like Nikki and I were questioning a scene the other day, I think from the first one, and we were like, even without cell phones and things like that, like we were just like, why do these cops like hate this kid? Like, why are they not trying to help? Like if there's a missing kid, we knocked on the door and he's not there, nobody answered. Okay, well you keep trying because clearly that child is by themselves.
I don't know. That seems
why do they? But do you think there's the question that's gone around is like, what was his dad's real job, because of like the really nice house they lived in, and they were going to Paris in their first vacation, and so some people think that he was in the mob. That's a theory. It's that. And so
you know what I think of that is that people have too much time on there.
So Nikki and I were joking around. We were watching it. I think it was yesterday, the day before, and we were talking about how I was like, "Look, he's in the mob. That's why like they have all of this money, and that's why he can fly his entire family, because it's like his aunts and his uncles and his cousins, and they were like all flying to Paris in the first one." And I was like, "Well, if you're in the mob, you have the money to get all that."
I think part of the reason I haven't watched is because Bob and I we're like, that is the story of the worst parenting in the history of parenting. Like and because we both worked with kids for such a, right. Because we ran like a whole region of for coaching and stuff. So it was like, for us, so I think that's been part of like my turn. Like, that's totally like a me thing that has nothing to do with anyone. That's just like one of my weird, like, peeves about it. So it kind of stays. It's not in my Amazon queue is almost entirely Christmas movies that I have to watch because I finally purchased them because I have I'm not gonna rent these anymore. I know I have them on DVD, but I don't want to or in Blu-ray, but I don't want to pull that out because I don't do that anymore. It's like,
So then what if you don't consider that a Christmas movie? What are your favorite Christmas movies?
Wait, did we get all of David?
I'm sorry, did we?
I think so. So I would go It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, It's a Wonderful Life. That's right.
Yeah.
Then probably I don't know, Batman Returns and Gremlins. That would be my 3, maybe. I don't know.
I do like
I do like Bad Santa with Billy Bob Thornton a lot as well. Have you seen that film?
Into that flick.
I don't think I've watched it all. I think I've seen maybe parts of it, but no, I haven't. But I've heard that a lot of people really like it. Yeah.
Well, once we've had we've all given our 3, I'll run through the rest of this list that the fight game came up with. But Mel, what are your 3 then? Your 3 favorite Christmas films?
All right. So I basically go based on what I have to watch, and it's Scrooged.
Yeah.
The Ref. And the Muppet Christmas Carol.
I haven't seen Scrooged in years. It's been a very long time since I've seen that one. And then I don't think I've seen The Ref. I don't think I know.
No.
I don't think I've seen that.
Okay, so it's a little obscure, and we did finally purchase this one this year, but I do really love it. And it's Kevin Spacey, but at the time.
Well,
and that might be and Judy Davis and Dennis Leary, and it's about this.
That sounds familiar because I feel like I remember something with Dennis Leary
in this like super ultra rich small town in Connecticut because he's like robbing this guy of his jewelry and he's like this super thief, but he gets caught on this given night, and so he takes this couple who are having problems hostage. And it's not like your typical, it's certainly not like holiday oriented. It's more along the line of like Home for the Holidays or something. It's not something, but because they're dialogue between the three of them and the arguments, which I mean are triggering, but in a way that's funny. So it's okay. It's like the positive coping with humor kind of thing where it's like, I've seen it. So for me, it's kind of this like, it is very cynical. It is like anti-Christmas almost, except it's totally takes place on Christmas night. There's all these things he has to overcome that are just a product of being stuck in a small town.
Right.
Because everybody like there's like one of his obstacles is that everybody knows everybody in the town because it's such a small town. So this is like, it's really funny to see how they get around. And it's totally ridiculous. The idea that people would go along with any of it is hilarious, but like their family is coming to their place for Christmas Eve, and it's really, it's old school humor, and I just happen to be a Dennis Leary fan because he's in my wheelhouse, especially classic Dennis Leary humor, like his comedy specials.
Yeah. Right.
I used to play, what's that song he used to do? Life's Gonna Suck When You Grow Up.
Oh, there's one too. The classic one is just Asshole.
All right, no, I used to play Life's Gonna Suck When You Grow Up. I used to play that a lot.
Awesome.
One of my shows years ago. But no, I was just looking at the results, and the ref got one vote, and I wondered if it was you.
Was it you?
It wasn't.
It was Josh F. Trimble voted for the ref.
Excellent.
So obviously somebody else out there does know that film. Not just
a couple of people do. I mean, my cousin, who like we have the same family, he can't watch it because it's too triggering for him. So,
oh wow!
I mean, it's like literally like it's a very acquired
taste.
I mean, and I always watch like Die Hard's in there. I've watched Die Hard this year. The Muppet. The reason the Muppet
I haven't watched
Carol,
that one in a really long time.
It's my sister and I used to watch it. This is a sister one, like you and Nikki.
I she loves that. She talked. Yeah, she loves
over and over.
She would probably put that in her top 3.
Watch it. She made me watch it over and over and over and over. And it was post Henson. It was one of the first things that Disney did with the Muppets post Henson. And I'm huge Muppets fan. So I was like, oh, this is going to be the worst thing ever. And they genuinely, you almost could put it in the Muppet verse. You can almost, I think Jim would be cool with it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Michael Caine takes being in a Muppet movie as seriously as all those actors did in the movies and the episodes and so forth. So that's a really special one to me. That I just feel like I have to get a watch in every year.
Yeah, I can't even remember the last time I watched that one.
Well, now I don't know what yours are because you have such a different movie watching.
I mean, mine I think are pretty typical. Of course, obviously the Home Alone movies are definitely as you can tell, we've watched it just being on TV this month as we've been watching it. Even though I've kind of gotten to the point where I've had to take a break from it. Obviously, Elf. It's just I think that's a very it's a more modern classic, I guess, but I love Will Ferrell. I was watching when he was on SNL, that was when I was watching, and so I love that type of stuff, and I just love Will Ferrell, and so I really like that film, but I've watched it so many times that I'm I haven't watched it at all this year, and I think I watched it once last year because it was always on, and then my other one is Love Actually. I love that movie, and I haven't seen it. I was gonna say I've watched it a couple times already this season, but I actually haven't seen it all the way through. It's been on TV where I've just turned it on and caught parts of it, but I haven't watched it in full this year. But last year I did. But I will. And sometimes it'll come on throughout the year, and if I'm not doing anything, I'll watch it.
That's a very British film, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. But I love it.
All of those Hugh Grant films seem to be really popular over there. Though. I mean,
I'm into it.
Notting Hill's another one that's really popular.
Notting Hill, I love.
But I mean, I do love Hugh Grant, but Julia Roberts is one of my favorite actresses, and so that's why. I mean, I do like Hugh Grant, but that was
his Welsh roommate is one of my favorite side characters that ever exists in the history of I enjoy movies that have little side trope things going on that they do kind of add to I mean, he does actually have a role in how the movie progresses in the end, but largely he's just there for like to help
Comic
the movie
relief.
feel.
Yeah.
He's just great. He's
It's
so
like,
good at it.
It's like Lethal Weapon got a vote for Christmas because that is set at Christmas. But I like the first Lethal Weapon film. But when Joe Pesci, I don't know if you know the Lethal Weapon films at all, but when Joe Pesci became part of the cast, it just added another layer, just that sort of comedy character who was, you know, a bit like what you were saying there, bit of comic relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sort of brought the thing back down to like leveled it off a little because I mean the first Lethal Weapon is pretty dark and two's I mean we get into Lethal Weapon films but anyway I don't really think of them as that. Like I'll watch The Thing around this time of year. I know that got a vote. So what were the final results on?
Let me just have a. I mean, like I say, the number one was Home Alone.
Or did we get all of Sam's?
No, that was all mine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, second was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which we've not even mentioned.
And I am a big fan of Vacation, and I love it, and it totally holds up. And it's another one that has a little bit of like the going out and doing the Christmas tree hunting. Many times in my life, my father he was kind of a city kid, but he like moved to like rural America, and we were living in the way burbs and rural burbs. It was, so he always felt like we needed to go do stuff like that, and it used to drive us crazy. My dad when Home Improvement came out, my sister and I were like, he's gonna love this show, and I mean, notwithstanding all of it, 313, but it's. That was my dad had that vibe. He had that Tim Taylor vibe where he could fix it or he could take us out into the woods and find the perfect Christmas tree. And so that I kind of have fond memories of and then the lights thing again, 100% my dad. Like there's a.
So are you trying to say your dad is Tim Allen? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no, my dad was. Yeah, he was just. He kind of had that vibe. You know what I mean? He had that dad. He was Clark, a little bit Clark Griswold, not totally like, but not quite as like, not self-aware. But he had the very similar thing. And then we had like the crazy aunt with the squirrel or with the like things in her. Yeah, It was
relatable.
Heart.
Is that what you're saying?
Relatable enough. Yes. So it's just not as like high on the list. So if I see it, great, but it's not like a must see. Can't miss. Have to have it. Like the others.
Yeah. I mean, third was Die Hard. And then fourth was A Christmas Story, which I've never seen.
Really?
I saw it. It took me a long time to see it. And I thought it was all right. I mean, I can see why some people it's their favorite, but it's not my favorite. I mean, it was fine for what it was, I guess. I mean, I guess like if I saw it as a kid, maybe I would have enjoyed it more, but I saw it when I was older and I just wasn't, I don't know. I just didn't really care for it. My dad really liked it, which is interesting. My dad really liked it, but I never watched it growing up. I didn't. Yeah. Which is really interesting. And he's like, oh yeah, I really like that movie. And I'm like, did you just like watch it when we weren't around, I guess?
Now, David, do you just have no desire whatsoever or it just...
I mean, no, it's just I've never seen it. I mean, I probably should see it since it's so popular, but I mean, it beat It's Wonderful Life by one vote. It's Wonderful Life had 10 votes and that had 11.
Well, no, I guess I'm not really surprised. I mean, because those are the two that are always shown here. Like there are TBS will do it where they'll show It's a Wonderful Life for 24 straight hours, and they also have done they'll air it and then it goes off into
Christmas Eve.
Yeah, and then they do it all through Christmas Day, or they've done it with A Christmas Story. But it's usually It's a Wonderful Life, and then they did it a couple of years ago. I think it was TNT maybe did Elf for 24 hours like that, where it started on Christmas Eve and ran all through Christmas Day.
Most years.
That's probably why I got a little tired of Elf. Is probably because it was like on in the background, and I was like, all right, that's enough of that. Oh, but only so much Christmas cheer I can take right now.
It must be on TBS, but for most years, I think it must be the alternate channel. Is that on Christmas Day they run a 24-hour marathon of Christmas Story every single year, and that's the time when we don't watch that, we don't seek it out, we both enjoy it. It's a big popular.
Well, and I think that's also why a few years ago, because you will see, if you saw the picture at the beginning of the show, you will see MJF and the Pink Bunny, because that's why they did it in partnership a couple of years ago, where it was some of the AEW talent did certain scene, like the most popular scenes from the movie, and I think it was in conjunction because they run it for 24 hours, and so they had some of the AEW wrestlers do it, and it was like MJF and Chris Jericho was Santa, and Tony Schiavone and JR. I think it was JR. I think they were the narrators. Brandy and Cody were in it. SCU was in it. I can't remember. I think there was a couple other people, but I don't remember like who all else was in it. But I think that was wise because they show that movie for 24 hours here.
I was gonna say something to you about it because you were like making me remember all of those things, but oh well, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's the virtual fireplace with the music and Christmas Story on Christmas Day at our house. We kind of go back and forth because Bob really likes the virtual fireplace.
Yeah, sometimes we do the virtual fireplace too.
He really likes it a lot. And then my sister actually they were like sharing a couple years ago. They were so cute because they both like it so much that they were like sharing their favorite ones with each other, like back and forth.
That's cute.
I was like, this is why I love you people. It's amazing. I've kind of come around to it, and my friend did one for who did our artwork, Kyle Von Cubic.
Yeah.
Mr. at Obey Cube there. He did for One Rad Club, he did a one with clips from the shows on the network on One Rad Club. So it's a Yule log with all these funny clips from
that's cute. That's a cool idea.
From the Saturday morning show and from the Saturday morning cartoon show and from the, some of the retro gaming shows. And I was like, oh, this is a virtual fireplace I can get into. That's a lot of fun voices of people that I really enjoy listening to talk about like video games and cartoons and all kinds of hilarious stuff. So
that's a cool idea.
Fun. But all right.
Was there anything else on that list?
I think that's it.
I think Elf was the next one.
Yeah.
On the list.
7
votes. And Scrooge.
This is what David does, folks.
Scrooge was what?
The one Scrooge was actually joint with Elf on 7 votes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's been a really long time since I've seen that.
Yeah, it's a great film. It's Bill Murray, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a lot of fun. I just like it. There's a lot of like cameos by hilarious people that play the ghosts, and it's good. It was late 80s modern at the time. So
yeah.
It was doing, there is a hilarious bit where the old guy talks about doing TV for cats. And it's like, you look at it and you look at when the film came out, it was like 87 or some weird thing. And you're like, they have that now.
They do.
That guy wasn't that far off. So, too real.
All right, so I guess our next category is the one that will probably be David's bread and butter, is we're going to get into your top favorite Christmas songs. And I said 3, but then I started writing mine out, and I was like, oh, there's more than 3. And then I was going back and forth about a version, and I was like, I bet David knows both of these versions. And I was like, and then we might end up in a side conversation about that.
I want to hear this conversation because... In case you guys missed at the beginning there, David does a lot of hosting of music shows and knows a lot about all kinds of music. I was listening to the alternative music, the Facebook alternative Christmas show earlier because I was in the mood for Christmas music, and I was like, oh yeah, he has that one up, and it's great. I'm not quite through it, but very fun, and it's like there's so much.
There is so much, yeah, and unfortunately, you hear the same thing over and over and over again. It's like the radio this time of year. I don't know how it is over there. I'm guessing it's kind of the same.
It's pretty much, yeah.
You hear Mariah Carey like until you can't hear it anymore. Basically, you're just
a good song, but it gets overplayed.
You're Mariah carried out by about the 30th of November.
Yeah,
you just had enough of that song.
They started earlier this year because there's now 2 stations in Charlotte that do Christmas music. There's the original and then the new home. So it's they're both like the hot AC stations, and so they're competing for ratings because clearly if one's not playing Christmas music, they know the other station's going to get all the ratings. So now they both do it. Well, they started early this year. They usually wait until the day after Thanksgiving, and one station started the second week of November, I think it was. And then it was funny because Nikki and I were in the car and we heard the station flip, like they were playing something like current, and then all of a sudden it went straight into Christmas music, and so I was like, I've never been in the car when it actually like flipped, but it was really interesting. And I was like, they're both doing Christmas and they're both doing it early, which I get because it's ratings, and so
yeah, but I think even the day after Thanksgiving is a little early. I would normally go at the 1st of December. That's when I usually start to play.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think part of my thing, one of it is my birthday is the week before Thanksgiving. So I was like, I don't want to listen to Christmas music before my birthday. Like I want to split it up. But then also I was in chorus I started in middle school. So I started in the 8th grade, and then I was in it all through high school. And then like my junior year, I was in 2 choral classes. I was in a mixed ensemble where it was male and female. And then I was in an all women's class. And in my junior year, I had them back to back. So I had like an hour and a half every other day. And we started practicing for our Christmas concert in September. And so by the time the concerts came around, I was sick of Christmas.
I feel you, sister. So I was in really choir and honors choir.
Yeah. So
I was in college. I went to my first year in college was a private school. And I, on a whim, auditioned for the honors choir and was like, yeah, perfect. Just in time to get started rehearsing. I can like sing my part in the Hallelujah chorus.
Right?
Just like,
yeah. So for a really long time, like I would not listen to Christmas music like before December because I was like, I can't stand it. I was listening to it and so I was singing Christmas music in September. So
So there you go, folks. That's a peek into how early we start. People start.
I guess that could count as a Christmas tradition. Is when do you start listening to holiday music?
Well, one of the live theaters I worked at in Seattle did Christmas Carol every year. It was a city tradition, and I worked at the front of the house, so we were doing ticket sales, and that was like the biggest time of the year for us. That was no joke. People would get crazy. Like those phones, that whatever the time was that those tickets went on sale, those phones were lit up. And it was like, because everyone wants the Christmas Eve show and everybody and they did it there's like multiple spaces in the theater building and they would do it in their theater around space. And it was a tradition. Like the same dudes played these guys for years.
Right.
Like it was, or they would do the thing like a couple of years. They did a thing where they rotated the main actor through a lot of like Pacific Northwest and Northern California actors, people that were fairly well known regionally, and got like them to come in and play Scrooge. And it was such it was a giant deal. And oh man, whew, yeah. I love the book. The book is perfect. I like it. The book is like a lot of fun to read. It's maybe my favorite Charles Dickens, which that list is pretty short because not my jam usually. But what am I going to do? The guy is like brilliant, and I'm wearing an elf hat. So, so holiday songs. So Sam, I guess that means that you need to go first because it's going to start a conversation between you two.
All right. So I guess my first one is probably not the conversation starter, and it's not. It's interesting because this isn't really. It's never been one of my favorite holiday songs. Like I've always liked it, but I just love this version, and it's Josh Groban's version of "Oh Holy Night." I love his version. And I had when I have his Christmas album, and when the Christmas album first came out, that version was not on the album. So the only time I could hear it was when it was on the radio. And then I think he eventually put it on streaming or something like that. And then he released the deluxe version a couple years ago. And I think it's on that. But yeah, so that is definitely I will stop what I'm doing. If it comes on, I will stop and listen because I love his version. This one is one. This will definitely be one that's not on a lot of people's list and is not a typical. This is not one you hear on the radio, but it's one that I heard growing up, and it's "Funky Funky Christmas" by New Kids on the Block. Tom Lawler probably knows that song.
I know that song.
But I had the Christmas album or cassette of theirs.
I had a door poster of New Kids on the Block.
So did my sister. My sister had one as well.
My first crush was Joey McIntyre. Yeah, Joey McIntyre was my first crush.
No, she was you were Joey.
Oh, I was. Oh, absolutely.
My sister was Jordan Knight.
Yeah, my cousin was a Jordan Knight fan. I liked him okay, and then the older I got, I saw that's when and then he did a solo career, and he had couple really good songs he did solo, and then I saw him play a venue it was basically a bar that he played a few years. Oh God, not a few years ago. It was probably 10 or 15 years ago, because it was when he was doing a solo stuff, and he was just I was wow, he's kind of a tool. And then Nikki's favorite was always Donnie.
Right.
So we both. So we listened to New Kids on the Block a lot in this house. And I actually didn't see them in concert until I was an adult, because I didn't get to see them as a kid. Right. So when they did the tour, I've seen them, I think 2 times. I saw them when they did the New Kids on the Block Backstreet Boys tour. I went to that, and then I saw them a few years ago, and they were with Boys to Men and Paula Abdul, which I also wanted to go because I love all 3 of them. I love Paula Abdul when I was a kid.
I had both of those albums. So
yeah. So that is one that Nikki and I will pull up on YouTube, and we listen to it at least once a year. And I think it is on Spotify, and I think I have it on because I have a Christmas list on Spotify. I actually don't listen to it very often just because Christmas music is everywhere, but I think it's on there. And then one of my other favorite Christmas songs, they play the song all the time, but just not this particular version. And it's "Please Come Home for Christmas," but it's the John Bon Jovi version,
right?
Which I love.
Yeah, it's a good version.
They don't play that one on the radio. They
play it here.
They play the Eagles,
the Motor City.
Yeah, I would say we get the Eagle version all the time. I don't know that I'm sure they do play somebody else's version, but I think the Eagles version and both of and I was like, I have 2 radio stations playing Christmas music, and not one of you can play the John Bon Jovi version of this.
You should come visit me in Southeast Michigan, because the Detroit metro area, that's a good one. That's a big
I have never, I don't know that I've ever.
All the hair metal bands, because a lot of the rock station here, the main rock station here,
they play Bon Jovi a lot here, especially on the classic rock stations, or they play the stuff that they released, that album that they released in early 2000 that has "It's My Life" on it. They play that, and they play the same 3 Bon Jovi songs, because they act
always gets played. Always.
See, I don't hear that here, and "Always" is my favorite John Bon Jovi song of all time, and they don't play that here, so that's another one that I have to seek out for myself if I want to listen to it.
So
I think that was their biggest hit here, even bigger than "Living on a Prayer." "Living on a Prayer" is probably their biggest song.
Yeah, that still gets played here all the time.
We get the Dead and Wanted, Dead or Alive a lot here too.
We do. We get those with usually those 2, one. And then "It's My Life." Every once in a while, they did one of the stations. They put in rotation. They put "I'll Be There for You" in for a little bit, which is a really good song. And then, but yeah, that didn't last very long. It's the same 3, and it's never "Always," and it's never "Bed of Roses," which are my 2 favorite songs. It's never those 2, so I have to go out of my way. But yeah, so at Christmas time here, they do not play his version of "Please Come Home for Christmas," because they have to play the Eagles version. And then I had a couple other songs. I was like, this is not top 3. but I'm going to talk about them anyway. So another Christmas song, I don't know if David, you might be familiar with this one. So there was a song that they always played growing up, especially when CMT used to actually show music videos, much like MTV. CMT. Yeah. So Santa Claus is Watching You by Ray Stevens.
I played that on the alternative Christmas
did.
Day.
Yes, you did.
I need to listen to it. I love that. Like my sister and I, because we grew up listening to it, and the video is
hilarious.
Funny. Yeah, it's like, I mean, the song is a little,
I've never heard that
to
before.
It now. It's a little like stalkerish, I guess, but I was like, I love that song. So that's one of the ones. So like Nikki and I, because we don't, so that's what we'll do is like we'll pull up YouTube, and that's what we'll do. Like we'll listen to New Kids on the Block, we'll listen to John Bon Jovi, and then we listen to Ray Stevens, so we can listen to those. Another favorite is, but it is a particular version, is Carol of the Bells, but I can't, some people do a terrible version of Carol of the Bells, and most of the versions I don't like, but I like the version that's played in Home Alone, and I think that's because that's where I heard it for the first, or I remember hearing it the first time, and so it took me forever to find that version to put on my Christmas playlist, because I was like, but that, yeah, because there's some versions of Carol of the Bells and I absolutely hate their versions, but that one I really like. And then I guess my last one that I want to talk about, and this might be another one that David knows, is obviously the song Blue Christmas. Elvis's version is very popular, and I do love his, but the Vince Gill version is so good. Are you familiar with the Vince Gill version? Yeah, I figured you would be. Yeah. Do you have a preference on that song, like of whose version?
Do you know the Mavericks?
Yes, I love the Mavericks.
The Mavericks do a good version of that as well.
You know what? I think now that you say that, I do remember them having a version. I haven't listened to that in a really long time. Now I'm gonna have to go pull that up too, because it's been a long time since that. Because the Mavericks, unfortunately, do not get a lot of radio airplay here. No. They did in the 90s, and I love the Mavericks. And actually, I follow them on Twitter.
So actually, Raul Malo, the lead singer, follows me on Twitter.
Does he? Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. Raul Malo's got a phenomenal voice.
Oh yeah, he's very much like a Roy Orbison type.
Yes.
Singer. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh wow, right on.
I love the Mavericks, but yeah, the Blue Christmas, like I go back and forth. Like I love the Elvis version, especially because I grew up listening to Elvis because my mom is a really big Elvis fan. So Elvis has always been in my house. And so I really love his version, but Vince Gill's version of Blue Christmas is just, it's heartbreaking. But it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, so I guess those are not top 3, but those are, there's probably more Christmas songs I'm leaving out, but those are like the ones I was like, I'll just cut it here. Like, I'll be here forever.
All right, so it's David's turn. I want to hear what David's favorite.
Right. Okay, so my favorite,
the guy that has to play all the music all the time.
I know. Yeah, I know. My favorite is the Christmas song, but it's got to be Nat King Cole. You know, chestnuts roasting on an open fire. That's my number one favorite. The second one, I don't even know if it's that well known over there. Is Fairy Tale of New York. Are you familiar with that song at all?
No.
That song is huge over here.
I feel like maybe it sounds sort of familiar, but I don't. It's not something that's played here regularly.
In fact, Matt Dillon was in the video.
Really?
That song. Yeah. But it was the Pogues, who are an Irish band.
Yeah, we know them.
Right.
They did a version. With Kirsty MacColl, and it actually was held off the number 1 spot at Christmas by the Pet Shop Boys version of "Always on My Mind."
Oh wow!
It's sort of considered the greatest Christmas song that was never like number 1. Right. That would be my number 2, and then for 3, there's so many like Sam. I could list loads that I like. But I think I'm going to go with Old Time Christmas by George Strait, which I don't know if either of you have heard before, but George Strait is my favorite country singer, and that is just I just love the images it conjures up.
It's my favorite kind.
90s country is my favorite. I will still, like, I have a country playlist.
I get it.
It's almost all 90s country.
No, I totally get it. That was a boom period for it.
Yeah.
I listened to some of the 80s stuff too.
I do a weekly 90s country show. So
yeah.
And in fact, this week is all Christmas songs, and I do play that one on there. Yeah. And in fact, there's another one. Colin Ray did a song called "It Could Happen Again," which is about the truce between the British and German soldiers on World War One.
Yeah.
On that Christmas Eve of 1914.
Yeah.
They sort of laid down their weapons and they exchanged what they had, which was like
Right.
cigarettes and things as presents, and
Uh-huh.
war stopped, for that for Christmas.
Right.
It's basically a story about that, and Johnny Cash does the narration at the beginning of it.
Oh,
It's just a
cool.
really great
I'm
song.
glad.
So I
Tell
play
me
that
what
one
the
as
name
well.
of this is
I was
again.
like, I'm gonna have to have heard that because I listened to Colin Ray. I've had to have heard
It could
that.
happen again. It could happen
Okay.
again by Colin Ray.
That's
That's another
amazing.
one.
Yeah, Colin Ray had some good stuff.
And then obviously Garth's got a couple of great.
I was
Christmas
just gonna say
albums.
Garth has. Does he have a song that's a similar story?
Yes,
Or
he's got a song called "Bell Your Wood."
that's exactly what I was just about to ask.
Yeah.
Was it if it was that song? Yes. Okay.
It's basically very much the same idea, yeah.
Yes.
But
yeah.
And then Martina McBride's got a great Christmas album. I
Mhm.
played 3 songs from that on the show,
Yeah,
and
she gets played
Trisha
around
Yearwood.
here sometimes on the for that's the one thing about the Christmas stuff here. Even though they're technically like the hot AC stations, they will play some of the country artists, and she's on there. They've gotten where they play Brett Eldridge a lot. They played him a lot. They played him some this year, but last year it feels like last year they were all about some Brett Eldridge.
Yeah, he's like the country Michael Bublé, because Michael Bublé is now sort of associated with Christmas music.
Yeah, and I love Michael Bublé, and I love those albums. But yeah, I would say Brett Eldridge.
He's probably phoning it in at this point, though. He's been at it for quite a long time. He doesn't have to try that hard.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, and you know who else? I didn't put her on there, but I love Kelly Clarkson's Christmas album.
Oh yeah,
that's really.
She's like a did a newer one. I think like added some bonus tracks or something, because I heard the other day she did a song with Chris Stapleton. I don't know if that was on the original.
I need to. I knew she had a song because she's got one with Ariana Grande that's out now, but I did not know about the Chris Stapleton one.
Yeah, I think it's called Glow, which is the name of the album. I think.
Don't know how I did not know about this, so now I'm gonna have to go look it up because
I was just listening and I thought that's Chris Stapleton, because he's got a very distinctive voice.
Yes,
so I knew it was Stapleton.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, it's a great. I think it's called Glow. Yeah.
Okay, well now I'm going to go look that up after this is over because I freaking love Chris Stapleton. I don't listen to a lot of modern country anymore, but I guess he's probably because he's not very modern sounding. He sounds very similar to older, which is probably why one of the reasons I enjoy him so much. But yeah I love him.
And there's loads more I could mention.
Yeah,
but I'm eager to hear Mel's
Me
list
too.
now.
Mine are not gonna be as classy and fun as you guys. I have one of my all-time favorite is, and you actually played, although you called him Bill Rivers, and I only say this because he lived in Seattle and I used to listen to his radio show. It's Bob Rivers.
Oh, did I say Bill?
You said Bill, and I know you know that, but I was like, oh my god, I know he knows that, but it was like. But Bob Rivers, and it's because I used to listen to Bob Rivers' show, was one of the morning shows on the commute in Seattle, and I used to drive for my job quite a lot because I worked the entire Puget Sound region, and so I would listen to him in the morning and his crew, and they actually not only did they, so there a lot of the guys that worked on the Bob Rivers Christmas album worked at the station with him,
right? Yeah.
So they have a spin-off band nowadays called Spike and the Impalers. And they do they do parody songs in the vein of something think of Weird Al in that vein. Right. But with all kinds of stuff and as a group. And so one of his guys that works with him, Spike, is the lead singer guy, because Bob now he just does keyboard and drums and stuff like that, but because he's so much older these days. But and he has a song called Percy the Puny Poinsettia, which is one of my absolute most, I can't get it out of my, it's this time of year, it's one of the ones, and I just went sort of by what do you think of, what is the things that get. And these are the songs that get stuck in my head this time of the year, no matter what happens. And that's one of them. And then the next one is, I guess, this is total country. There are 2 songs by Alabama, because my dad loved the Alabama Christmas album. This was
that's a good
staple at our house.
Yep.
This went on in the morning. It was played multiple times during the day. It went on, we had a cassette version when CDs came out. We upgraded to the CD. It was one of the first when my dad got the big sound system, like that was one of the first things that had to be.
Alabama's so good, though.
He read us "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" at night on Christmas Eve, and we listened to the Alabama Christmas. And so it's two songs off there that are, one is "This'll Hair the Christmas Bear," which I just love because it's cute and fun. And then the other one is more serious, and it's called "Christmas in Dixie."
Oh yeah, "Christmas in Dixie." Yeah,
and it just sits in my head. It just sits here. It's like been like wafting through my head as I do things.
Have you heard the version? Kenny Chesney did a version with Randy Owen, who is the lead singer of Alabama. Have you heard that version?
No.
That's really good.
I think I have heard that one.
I need to check that out.
That's the one that I play. I play that more often than the actual Alabama version.
That's fantastic. I have to. That's great.
Yeah, Randy Owen has such a great voice.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
So good.
One of those things where after my dad passed away, it was one of those things where I didn't listen to that sort of stuff anymore because he bought it. It was his thing. It was one of those things that he infused into us. I was like Lee Greenwood and Alabama and John Cougar Mellencamp before he dropped the Cougar.
Right.
You know, Huey Lewis in the News.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Sports was like, I mean, these staple things. But the Alabama Christmas album is something that it took me a long time, but now my sister and I we insist on listening to it and making sure that we make it part of the rotation because it's so important, and it was such a I can sing every word to every song on that album. I mean, and I'm okay with that. Like, it's really cool. And it's a lot of fun, and those are my and Wham. Love. I haven't been Wham again yet. I haven't,
I heard it twice, and I mean, I hear it all the time. But we ran a quick errand before, and I heard it twice in 10 minutes because both Christmas stations were playing it, and they'll mix in avoiding
Christmas places.
They'll mix in the Taylor Swift version, and then there's another. What's the other? There's another version that they play.
Yeah.
But it's usually those two. But
another female version, isn't it? I think
so.
Yeah, I can't think who it is now. It's not Ariana Grande, is it? It's someone like that, I think.
No, I'm trying to think of who it is that they play that version. But so then they rotate it, but it's almost always the Wham version gets played the most often. But they have mixed it. They've been adding in the Taylor Swift version of it. But I think the reason that they do is because those were the ones that were recorded before. Right. So I think whoever owns those now, they're paying because they're losing out on all that fun because she's re-recording a bunch of stuff. And so that was pre that. Yeah. So I think whoever owns that is promoting it to the radio stations so that they get, because she has one new Christmas song that came out 2 or 3 years ago, but she had a few from when she was just starting out. She released a couple. And I think that's why, is because whoever owns it now, they're they promote it so that they can get some of the residuals off of it. I think is what's happening, because they weren't really playing them but the last 2 years or so, and I was like, that must be why. It's because she's re-recording everything, and so they're like, oh well, while we still can, let's play these and get them.
Good for her.
Yes,
you go, girl. I'm not a huge I don't know much about her, and I'm not a huge fan, but I think that what went on with her is total trash. And
it is total trash.
Good for her.
It is, yeah.
Grab that bag.
I was like, I know we didn't have this topic on here, and we're already an hour in, but I was like, do we want to discuss the Christmas songs that we hate?
Yeah, we can.
Let's jump on some Christmas songs.
Putting you on the spot.
We're not gonna have the Let It Snow debate, are we?
What about it?
Is that no? Wait,
no.
Which one am I thinking of?
No, you're thinking of Baby It's Cold Outside, which is a very date rapey sounding song.
Oh yes, yeah.
It is.
I think I get it's time to, sometimes things need to be retired. It's okay for some things to be retired, and it's okay. I'm not gonna sit here and police what people want to play on the radio, and if you're fine with it, whatever. And I've actually seen the flick, so it's not that is from. So it's the whole movie is kind of like that.
Oh, but that song's been out for a while, before the movie was.
Okay.
The song has been out since it came out in the what was it, the 50s?
50s, I think.
50s is when the original came out. So yeah, it's very.
Maybe, I mean,
in today's
you guys are mentioning a bunch of songs that I haven't heard. Why not rotate that out and rotate some of these in?
That would be nice,
newer,
but they stick with the classics because that's what they think people want to hear.
And it is true because like every grandfather I know from here to eternity, and some grandmothers too, that as soon as they play that Christmas music, they were waiting for that to flip. They had that AM station. That AM station was the station they listened to regularly anyway. Sam. Okay, so.
But I was like, I don't know if I'm putting you in the spot if you'd be able to name songs off the top of your head, but I was like,
It might be
a fun song.
Go.
Okay.
Right off the top of my head too, and it's John Lennon, "Happy Christmas War Is Over," which I just never really liked that song, and Paul McCartney, "Wonderful Christmas Time."
I love that song. I know that that's a song that either you love it or you hate it. And I love that song. And I did not put this on my favorite Christmas songs, but that reminded me. "Step Into Christmas" by Elton John is one of my. I love. I mean, I do. I'm a huge Elton John. I'm a huge Elton John fan, so that probably has a lot to do with it. But I
favorite
love
Elton John song.
Oh God, that's hard.
I would say "Tiny Dancer."
I do love "Tiny Dancer," and then it kind of rotates. I would say, what is the name? Why am I forgetting it? I mean. Sorry is the hardest word. Is such.
Sorry seems to be the hardest word.
Yeah.
Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting.
Yeah, there's so many. Like I've tried to narrow it down before and pick a favorite, and I
love Daniel.
I pick a favorite, and then I'm like, this is a really good song too. So he's one of. It's really hard for me to
probably mine
because I love him so much. So I'm just like all of them. But yeah, "Tiny Dancer" is that's a phenomenal song. So I listened to that. Yeah, I listened to him growing up, but when I really got into him when I was about 17, and I think it's because I was working at a music store for one, and then also that's when Moulin Rouge came out, and they obviously did a lot of the for the movie it was Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman, and so they did, and I think your song was in there.
May have been,
and I think that I knew it of course from there because I listened to him growing up because my parents did, but I really like when I was 17, like I really got into Elton John, and then I've listened to him ever since. But yeah, we could have a whole other show.
There was, if that's true, maybe you guys will know this. There was a cover album, like a bunch of artists that were modern at the time in the 90s. They did a tribute album basically to him, and it was a bunch of bands covering some of his famous.
That was a thing in the 90s where they would do like a lot of cover. They would pick like one artist and do like
they did one. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say they did one with the Eagles.
Yes,
they did because
Clint.
That's when Clint Black did his version of "Desperado," which is phenomenal.
Fantastic.
Then
Travis Tritt actually got the Eagles back for the video for "Take It Easy." Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yes. That is. I do remember when that happened. That was a huge deal when that happened. Like I remember.
Ladies and gentlemen, two music nerds.
Yes.
I love it. It's awesome. I knew that it was one of my.
That's why I was like, do we
have enough time for you guys to nerd out about?
We should just do a whole show on music sometime.
We should.
But getting back to the Elton John thing, just for a second, they did an album a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And Little Big Town did a great version. I think it was Rocket Man. They did a great cover of that.
Yeah, I think they did Rocket Man. Chris Stapleton did.
He did.
He did. I don't want love, right? And that's the one that
I want love, yeah.
Or I want love, yes, I said that wrong. But yes, I want. Yeah, I think that's the one that Chris Stapleton did, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because that was they had some really good covers on there, and then there were some that I wasn't very crazy about, but they
have Vince Gill and Don Henley, and I'm a big fan of both of them. But they did a version of what was it, Sacrifice, and it didn't work for me. And I love both Vince Gill and Don Henley, but it just didn't.
Yeah, was that the album? There was somebody on it that I really liked, and then I was thinking that the cover was going to be good, and then I ended up not liking it, and I can't remember now I probably blocked it out because I was expecting. Oh no, it was somebody did a Prince song, and I was like, oh, this will be like I love Prince, I love this artist. I can't remember who it was, and then I heard it, and I was like, this is terrible, and I never want to listen to it again, and I didn't. Now I must have blocked it out because I can't remember who it was now. So do you have any more most hated songs?
Well, have you got any, Sam?
Yes.
Sam has some, because she wouldn't have brought this up.
I do, and I
she wanted to talk about this.
There is, and it's gonna completely contradict one of your picks. I do love Nat King Cole, but I do not like the Christmas song. I don't know why.
Well, that's my favorite version.
Yeah, I don't. No, Nat King Cole is phenomenal. And
you don't like the song?
I don't like the song. No, his version is fine. I don't know what it is about that song. I just have never liked it, and I don't know what it is about it. But not a fan of it. And then they've been playing. One of the stations has been playing a cover of, I think it's White Christmas, but it's by the Drifters. And like the opening part, because they play it in Home Alone. Like, I love the opening, but then it just...
But it's when that... Yeah, I know the bit you mean.
It's too much. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Like that, isn't it? It's like, oh, no.
Yeah, it goes, it's like really traditional. It's awesome. It sounds great. And then all of a sudden there's this voice, and it's just this really high-pitched
I know what you mean,
male singer, and he's just does way too much. I was like, what was happening in the studio that day? But they've gotten where it's in rotation, and every time I'm like, I cannot listen to this. It's too much. And then there was a song, I don't know if it was my most hated, but it's a song that has been bothering, like, I just don't enjoy listening to it. It's by Mannheim Steamroller, and it's fine because it's like, it sounds kind of like 80s, and it's like it almost sounds like it could fit in Stranger Things. And then these women start singing, and it's like something about silver bell, like sweet silver bells, and it's very odd sounding. Like there was too much happening in that song. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than it's too much for my ears. It doesn't fit. And I was just like, and then we were talking about how Mannheim Steamroller, they were kind of popular for a little bit, and then it's Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and they are amazing. And I've seen Trans-Siberian Orchestra live 3 times because when they first started out in radio, my boss was helping to get them on the radio. So we have people that he knows people through them. And so we are always able to get free tickets. And they give me good seats because those are usually the seats that they give to like the radio stations. But like the first year we went, I think we were 11 rows back. Then the second time we went, we were 4 rows back. And then I think we've done 7th row back. I was like, and there's 2 different stories. Like they were swapping it out. Like the first year was one story. And then the second time was another story that they told. And then the third time we saw it, they went back and did the first story that we saw. So they basically just mix it off. But they're like, I always liked Trans-Siberian Orchestra, but then I saw them live, and it was just like, I did not expect like it was so good. There's lights. And the only thing is, like, we took my dad the second time we went, and they do a lot of like strobe lights and things like that, and that was very triggering for him because he was in the military, and I didn't realize it was going to be something that was triggering for him. Like, he made it through fine, and then afterwards he was like, he loves them, and he's like, I don't think I can go see them again. He was like, that was just a lot. But they do so much, and there's so many people that are playing at once, and they have stages that like rise up, and they like go over the top of your head, and then they go perform like in a stage in the middle of the crowd, and then they come back overhead, and they're like playing like electric guitar while they're doing it. Like, it's a really, really awesome show. And I was like, and I love Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and I didn't realize how much I would like. I went to their show, and I was like, man, these people are badass. I did not expect. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go hear some cool Christmas music, and then I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then I found out that people like, they have like groupies that like follow them around from like town. Like, I don't know if groupies is the correct word because it's both men and women, but they follow them around like all over their tour. And like, there are people, they had like autographed shirts, like they were wearing their shirts and they were like autographed by band members. Like, and I was like, I did not know that Trans-Siberian Orchestra had like people that followed them around and stuff, but it's like, good for them.
I mean, I don't know how to follow that. They're amazing. I really don't have anything else. Yeah, I don't have anything else to jump on, really, because I mean, there's
Nikki wanted me to tell the 3 songs that she hates.
Okay.
she was like, she's like, I can't be, she's like, I'm not going to be on your show, but she was like, can you tell them my 3? And I was like, sure. And I knew what they were without her having to tell me, but she hates Santa Baby. She said she's never liked that song, but it creeps her out. So like she hears the beginning notes, she's like, and like splits the station. She hates that song in any version. Like she doesn't care who it's by. It could be, she's a huge Elton John fan. I'm sure if Elton John sang it, she probably still would not like it. And she does not a fan of I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. She's never been a fan of that. And then that song, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
That's so funny. Okay, as you were going through her
and I don't like it either.
As you were going through her list, it started to pop. That song started to pop in my head and the reason is specifically because it gets stuck in your head. And it's a very catchy, annoying, like hook in the head song.
Yeah, so. And now watch, it's going to end up being stuck in my head because I mentioned it.
I almost was thinking it in my head. As you were saying that list, I'm like, it's going to be the hippopotamus song. I know it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we're not fans of the hippopotamus song in this house.
All right, so down votes. So
yes,
that's all my down votes for Christmas music. David, do you have any more down votes for your Christmas music?
One just came to me, which is I think it's called Christmas Wrapping. Is that what it's called?
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and I don't like it either.
What is it called? It's by the Waitresses.
Yeah.
It's the one that goes, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
Oh, yeah. That's annoying.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Pretty annoying.
Yeah, they play that a lot here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would put that on my songs I don't like to
big
listen to at Christmas.
No. Right. And now we're going to get to the wrestling part because we're getting close to the end here and we want to wrap it up on a wrestling note before we now Sam and I will be back on the 1st on New Year's Day and we'll be live streaming at the 1 p.m. Eastern time frames. We'll be back in our normal time, streaming away and talking about our end of the year stuff. We'll do all of that on that day. But we do have a couple things because we got David here. We wanted to ask him before we got to that day in case he can't tune in because, people have lives, they live in different time zones, that sort of thing. And so we're going to go with match of the year first, right?
We can, sure.
Okay. Or is that moment? If you want to,
we can save match of the year. We can go for moment of the year.
And we keep that as the coup de grace and go for moment of the year. Let's start with moment of the year. Let's start with moment of the year.
Sure, why not?
What was your moment of the year, David?
My moment of the year. I didn't know whether you wanted me to go for the moment that stuck out the most or the moment that was my favorite. So I've got.
You could do both.
Yeah,
you've got both.
I've got both answers. So the biggest moment for me would have to be obviously Vince. I mean, there's been bigger story. There has been other stories. That's the biggest one I would say.
Yeah.
Was him obviously. Retiring, I suppose, is for lack of a better term. But my favorite moment is tough. I'm a huge fan. I was a huge fan of CM Punk.
Me too.
I kind of a little bit. I don't know. I think he handled the whole situation very wrong, and I understand. There's people out there that aren't fans of him for obvious reasons, but when he came out at Revolution for the match with MJF and he had the old Ring of Honor AFI theme, and obviously Paul Fontaine was on Twitter saying,
Paul's favorite week on Twitter.
What am I not getting? And that to me was just such a great moment.
It was.
It's such a shame it's gone from that and how happy he was to be there and I thought when he came in, September of last year, wasn't it, when he came in? I thought that's such a huge moment for AEW.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see him. And it's a shame that it might be, it looks like it's probably the end now.
Right.
I think it's a great shame. But that was such a great moment. I thought the whole feud, MJF and CM Punk.
Yeah, and I think
favorite AEW feud.
Like you could say, that's what I was going to say. I think even if you leave that part out of it, and I'm not saying this just because I'm a CM Punk fan, because I too think that I think he probably had some legit concerns, and there probably were some legit problems. He just completely handled it the wrong way, and he destroyed Bethesda. But if you take that away from it, like that, his feud with MJF is probably one of the best feuds that AEW's ever had. And it's a shame that, like you said, he's probably done, because I think there's a lot more that they could tell. They could actually add this into it. Like, I could only imagine what the things that MJF would say about what happened.
I mean, he's a champion now.
Which we knew we were going to get to. It just took not just the CM Punk stuff, because MJF left for a little bit too. That story, it took, MJF was gone doing, he was mad and doing his stuff, and then he comes back, and then we think we're getting that, and then the CM Punk stuff happens, and then MJF finally gets there. But I just can imagine, like, even with all of that, the story that they could still tell if it were to happen, which I don't think it will, which is a shame, because I think that they could do, like I said, I could only imagine how MJF would play this whole situation and how he would work that into promos, into the stories and the things like that. Like, I think that there's so much left, and I think that story just scratched the surface before that.
Yeah, I think we probably would have got Punk and MJF maybe all out. I think that's
what I think. And that's where I thought that was going as well. I think even when we
if
talked
he hadn't got hurt the first time.
If he hadn't been, because obviously he ended up having surgery. But that's where I thought MJF would win it. Like, I was like, if they'll pick up this feud again, it'll happen at All Out. MJF will get the title. And then, like, I thought that's where we were going. I think that probably was where they were going with it. And then, things happened. But I think that's kind of where that was set to go, probably.
Any other moments that you stuck out to you, or just the Vince and the...
Lots of great Sami Zayn moments this year, isn't there? I mean, I don't follow WWE that closely, but I do enjoy everything that he does with the Bloodline. Is definitely the highlight of
Agreed.
That's what even I took a break from WWE right now. That the Bloodline storyline, the whole thing, for some reason I can't. It's just, I like it. It's the only thing that's interesting me in it. But I mean, I'm doing the thing now where I'm almost regularly watching SmackDown to stay away
just
for
the Sami Zayn.
And I'm keeping up with it because like
that's
Twitter
where they are.
Yeah. And and then like I even tuned in, like they got me. I knew what they were doing, but that tweet went out on Thursday from the guy who did the Bray Wyatt stuff.
Oh yeah,
and it was like, you should tune in on Friday. And then I heard that Roman was coming back, because like I had been kind of keeping up with it, but I didn't realize that Roman hadn't been on TV since War Games. And so I was like, oh, is this where they're finally gonna, is something gonna happen? Like, is he gonna turn on Sammy? Is Sammy gonna turn on him? So of course, like they got me, and I was like, and I watched, and it's been really, really compelling stuff. And I think this is probably the best Sami Zayn has ever been, which is saying a lot.
I've always been a big fan of him, but
he's great. He can do everything.
Yeah. And he was one of those people, like, it made sense. Like, I would have loved to see him in AEW, just to see him with like just some new people and some different people and like old friends. Like, but I think that he made the best decision, because they put him in this. They made him so central to the Bloodline and to what's happening. And obviously that Roman Reigns' title run is probably coming to an end sometime next year. And I think however Sammy is involved in that, I think it will be really good story. And I'm sure for people like I said, I watched pretty much in the beginning, and then I quit. I just stopped watching WWE altogether. But for the people who have watched consistently these whole over 2 years now, I can imagine what the payoff is going to be like for them. I think that they've done that. And it's interesting because and we've talked about it even with AEW, when they do things right, like it's really, really good. And I think they've handled the Bloodline stuff incredibly well.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, Sam, it's your turn.
Oh, we're doing these. I thought we were saving this for next week.
Okay, that's right. All right. You're right. No, you know what? I'm so silly. You're right. We were just asking David because we are going to talk about this.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not prepared. I mean, I have ideas, but I haven't narrowed them down yet.
You're right. I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't had any eggnog, and I'm still like, just here we go. Anyway, so yes, so your moment of the year. So I think we go match and then best, looking forward.
Yeah.
Because I would like to know. Okay. So right now, tell us because you won't be on our thingy. You might be in the chat, you might not. What was your match of 2022?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think, see, my favorite style of wrestling is straight up, wrestling, kind of like Bryan Danielson style.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my favorite match, I think, is probably Bryan Danielson, Daniel Garcia, the 2 out of 3 falls match.
That was really good.
I'm really gutted we didn't get to see Bryan Danielson and Zach at Forbidden Door. But we can come back to that maybe in the next, what we're looking
that might be the match
to.
of the year for 2023.
That could be 2023.
Dave seems to be indicating that is a distinct possibility that they do fully intend to run Forbidden Door.
I expect they will.
I mean,
I expect they will. Yeah,
it did excellent. So
yeah, but yeah, for him versus Daniel Garcia, that was a phenomenal match, and so yeah, that's definitely a good choice.
There is so many guys that have really broken out. That could have been I don't know if you're going to talk about that next week. Maybe you will sort of break out stars of 2022 ahead. Because
do it. Yeah,
Daniel Garcia is definitely one. Oh. Willie Uter is definitely another one.
Yeah, those two have killed it.
And I think Ricky Starks. I mean, that promo with the other week with MJF. It's a shame we didn't get 2 matches. I would like to have seen him. I think many people have said this, but I would like to have seen him and MJF for the ring.
Me too.
And then him and MJF for the title. 2 separate matches.
Yeah, and I even would have said, like, I think the title match would have begun, or if they had separated it so that Ethan Page would have gotten the title shot first, and then he got and then that Ricky Starks would have the diamond ring, and
that's
then
what I thought was going to happen
too. I would have hoped. Yeah, I think that they just didn't. Because Ricky, I've heard how good Ricky is before. Like I've seen, I don't watch NWA, but I think I had seen like a couple of promos that got put on Twitter or something like that. And so I know that he can cut promos, but he's done it here and there. But that one I think MJF was the perfect foil for him.
Oh,
and it was that was incredible. And I'm glad to see that they are, because obviously, we knew, MJF was obviously not dropping the title anytime soon, but I'm glad to see. That was what I was concerned about. It's like, how do they keep this momentum going with Ricky after that? And so it was nice to see Ricky last night, back in the ring on the microphone. I'm not thrilled that Jericho is where they're going with it. Like, I get it. I understand why they're doing, like, why Jericho is next for Ricky Starks. I would like to see Ricky just like go through. I'd like to see Ricky and Garcia and Ricky and even Ricky and Sammy and Ricky and Wheeler Yuta. Because I was like, Sammy, I know he rubs a lot of people the wrong way, and sometimes I wish he would just be quiet. And I know it's just his personality. He's learning, and hopefully that'll come with more maturity. I think some with him. Andrade knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly who to go for. He knew who would respond to him, and it played out exactly like he wanted. But outside of that, Sammy he's a fantastic wrestler. Like, I was a fan of his pre-AEW. I saw him a little bit, and it's funny because Ricky was on Sammy's vlog before, I think it was before they both were in AEW, or right when AEW was starting up and maybe hadn't had shows yet. And they were doing the old thing of like, he could wrestle a broom. And so Ricky had a match with a broom and Sammy had a match with a mop, I think is what it was. And it wasn't like it was kind of in like the Kota Ibushi way. Like
like Kota Ibushi with a bear.
Yeah, sort of along those lines, but it was still really entertaining. And I was like, oh wow, I was like, Ricky Starks is actually really good. And like, I get like why he's, because I think he may have still been in NWA at the time, or he had just left. I can't remember exactly the timing, but yeah. So I was like, I've been waiting for Ricky to kind of hit that. And he just like knocked it out of the park. And I'm really excited to see, I hope they keep that momentum up with him. Especially because, it was kind of interesting, like with the stuff with Hobbs. And now it seemed like they were kind of got to push Hobbs. And then Ricky was just like, took that moment.
I thought Hobbs was definitely going to win the TNT title. I thought Wardlow's probably going to drop it. He probably won't get pinned. So I was expecting Hobbs to pin Joe. So I was really surprised when Joe pinned Hobbs.
Yeah.
No, he did pin Hobbs. Yeah. I can't remember the exact finish.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of thought Hobbs, and I really like Powerhouse Hobbs, and I liked him in the beginning when especially even when they, he was going to be a babyface, and they had him with Moxley, and then Moxley, I think that's when Moxley left. Is that when Moxley left and went to rehab? I believe maybe is when.
Maybe.
that happen. And so for some reason they decided to turn Hobbs heel, but it worked. Like I think it works. Like he was a good baby face, but he's just so much better. And I've really enjoyed like the Book of Hobbs that they've been doing, where they're telling the story, where you get to learn more about him. And so I'm hoping that means in 2023 that he's going to be somebody that they kind of build up even more. Like you said, I thought he had that momentum and it kind of died off a little bit.
There's a lot of guys I really would like to see have a big year in 2023, particularly in AEW. And he's certainly one of them for sure.
Yeah.
Which is a great segue to the very last question that we were going to ask you, which is, what are you most looking forward to in 2023, if you can narrow it down?
Well, I hope, Forbidden Door 2 happens, and I hope there isn't so many injury problems this year as there was last year. But even with all that, I mean, obviously they couldn't have Kenny for the show. Punk was hurt. Danielson was hurt. Even with all those problems, they still put on a fantastic show.
Yeah, that was probably do you have a show of the year?
I think it's either that or Revolution. I thought Revolution, top to bottom,
really
obviously that had Punk and MJF, the dog collar. That had Hangman, Hangman and Kenny, I think was it for the title.
Yes,
and Moxley and Danielson had a really great match on that show where William Regal made his first appearance, didn't he?
Right.
So top to bottom, that was a great show. And
that was
what the tag match was. There must have been a great tag match. I think it was a freeway. I think it was. I think it was Jurassic Express with the champions. It was them.
Oh, I think so.
It was them. I'm drawing a blank on who the others were. The Bucks and somebody else.
Was it Lucha Brothers?
May have been the Lucha Brothers. May have been.
Yeah, but I do remember that. I think that is where the triple threat was. And that was a really good match. And I think that really showed, I was really glad that Jurassic Express got to show, like, I think that was one of the matches that, like, really showed what they could do together, because I think a lot of times, like, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I think they flowed really well just because they've worked together for a long time, but sometimes it seems like they weren't always like firing all cylinders. I think that match was probably one of their best matches in AEW.
Right, I've got 7% battery remaining on my laptop apparently.
Okay,
should I go and quickly we can charge, or do you reckon we could wrap it up in?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up before your battery dies. But you can tell us what you're looking forward to in 2023.
So Forbidden Door 2, hopefully we get Danielson versus Zach, because that match would be amazing. I mean, Zach versus Claudio was a great consolation prize.
Absolutely.
But I'm looking forward to whatever they do with Sammy. I think if they have him and Kevin, maybe not at. See, there was talk of them doing the tag title change in Montreal, but somebody pointed out, I don't think the Usos could go to Canada because I think is it Jay?
Yeah.
Won't be able to.
No, it's because
DUI
of his
DUI charges, isn't it?
Yeah, so he can't get into Canada.
That's right, because he still got shit pending here, and
they probably should wait till WrestleMania and have them beat the Usos for the tag titles there. Maybe, I don't know. It kind of depends what they're doing with. See, if Dwayne is going to do WrestleMania, they're definitely going to do Dwayne and Roman. But if it isn't Dwayne, I think probably Cody will be.
Cody too. Do you think they'll do the thing where they have Roman defend one title each night? Oh, did we lose him?
Uh
oh. I think we might have.
See, oh no! I wanted him to get his plugs in before it died. We'll give him a 1 second to see if he's gonna pop back in here. But we may have lost David, folks, and it's
sorry. It's because I added in the Christmas songs you hate, or maybe it's the Vince discussion at the beginning.
Well, maybe they're on to us. They're probably on to us.
Probably.
So it's
well, while we're waiting to see if David pops back on, like she said, we will be live next Sunday, January the 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Come hang out with us while you're nursing your hangovers. And we're going to talk about we'll talk about like our favorite end of year stuff. We might do a little what we're looking forward to at Wrestle Kingdom. We won't do like a full preview because I'm sure some other shows are gonna probably handle that. And then we might also we're January 4th is starting to fill out for AEW. Like we got a match last night.
Seriously,
So we'll probably preview like what we're looking forward to with that, and hopefully we'll get Danielson versus MJF in a non-title match like we booked a few episodes ago.
So if you subscribe to the social medias, we're at Powerbombshells, we're at on the Instagram and the Twitter, and also if you want to go subscribe, you can actually pretty soon we're going to have the link up for the first. So as soon as we have it up, we'll tweet it out so you can set a reminder.
Yes.
And this will be available in audio format. So I want to tell everybody for that. And oh, good, we get a chance to add David back in, and so I know his thing is dying.
Yeah, it just literally went. I thought.
I know, we were like, oh no,
7 minutes.
We wanted to thank you for being here, and we wanted you to get your plugs in and let people know where they can find you. Not just because some people can't hear.
And did you have anything else you wanted to add since you got cut off? Because I think we were trying. Oh, what I was trying to ask you before it popped off was, do you think they'll do Roman like where he'll defend one title each night? Because that's been a rumor, like where they may have him defend the Raw title one night and then the SmackDown title, and that'd been the rumors. Maybe Cody on one night, and then I can't remember because obviously his match with The Rock is not going to be for a title. At least I don't think it will be. I can't remember who they said might be the other one, but I've heard the possibility of them splitting it and making him defend each title.
They could do that. I've always thought it would be Dwayne, if they can get him, against Roman, if not Cody. And then the other night, I was expecting something like Ronda and Becky maybe as the main event for the other night. But then they've got Steve Austin.
The women main event.
Steve Austin might do WrestleMania this year, so they might want to put him in the main event.
Yeah, and then they were also talking about
he's still training.
And then John Cena is expected.
They're doing a thing with him right now.
Well, do you think John Cena versus Logan Paul? Probably.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure Logan Paul will be doing that. It sounds like, because John Cena, I know, is doing the final. Obviously, they announced him with he'll be Kevin Owens' partner for the final SmackDown of the year. Yeah. So I figured even prior to that they were going to start setting up John Cena's WrestleMania match, and now some
he's
people
probably a lock for WrestleMania. I think Steve is likely, and then Rock is up in the air whether or not he can,
he can or can't.
Right, and then it was seemed like some people are wondering because when John Cena was like, I guess when they not announced, but like when it came pretty certain he was going to do it, like I thought Austin Theory was going to be his opponent, just because of the stuff they built. But then I've also, which he could still get involved, but now I've seen the idea, which I could see happening, is that Kevin Owens turns on John Cena in their match, and then that sets up a Mania match.
Could you? Yeah, they've definitely got history as well. They had some great matches back in the day, didn't they? So so I could definitely see that as a possibility. And so WrestleMania looks like it. I mean, for somebody who, because I do kind of keep up with it, but you know, WrestleMania is definitely something I don't miss. And it seems like this one might be one of the better ones they've had in a while. Like
it looks like this one's going to be a good.
I like to see the women get more of a focus in WWE again, because I think it got lost for a little while there. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's a shame that they didn't have Bianca and, what was it last year? They put Steve Austin and Kevin Owens on last, didn't they?
Yes.
Instead of, was it Bianca and Sasha?
Yeah, I think it was Bianca and Sasha. Yes, and that should have main evented.
It should have done. Yeah. So I'd like to see them focus more, because I think, and also in AEW, I think the rise of Jamie Hayter this year has been great to see.
Her match last night with Sheeta was incredible. Really, and they were and it's interesting because obviously Jamie is a fan favorite, but they were super behind her. Like, not that Sheeta was a heel by any means, and Sheeta's already very popular, but they were just super vocal with the Jamie chants last night. And I thought I'm
really glad that she's really getting over, because I think she is actually from the same. I'm from Southampton, which is also where she's from. We're from the same place. Yeah. So, but her and Britt is a match that's going to happen at some point.
I think I'm wondering if that's going to be a Revolution match, especially because now it's going to be in March, so they have a little bit more time. It's not the end of February; it's the beginning of March next year. So I'm wondering. I was like, they have a little bit more time to tell that story.
Yeah. And what do you think they'll do with Saraya, or Saraya, however you say it? What do you think her next?
I've got to be as far as like her match in January, or just in general.
Who do you see our next sort of feud being with? Because I think obviously they're going to have the tag match, and obviously the big rumor is it's going to be Sasha or Mercedes that she teams with against Britt and Jamie. So I don't know where they go with her next.
Be interesting because I would like to see them as a tag team, but Saraya has said like she wants to wrestle Sasha again, especially because their last match together is where she got paralyzed, not paralyzed, but where she had the stinger and a lot of there was that kind of thing. And so, but she was like, I want to get back in the ring with her. Like I think they want to, like, she wants a do-over basically. So I don't know if they would turn that into a feud, which is certainly possible. But yeah, it's very curious to see and she mentioned some people that like she wants to wrestle, and it's pretty much like the whole women's roster, which I guess if you haven't wrestled in 5 years, you probably do want to wrestle everybody that you can possibly wrestle. So
it does sound a lot like when CM Punk first started. I mean, they asked him who he'd like to work with, and he's like pretty much everyone, pretty much everyone on the roster. And and so, I think Saraya is probably exactly the same way, having not wrestled for so long. He's just like a kid in the candy store. It's like all these people I could suddenly work with now.
And she had even talked about, because she said she's never wrestled Jamie, and they didn't work. I think she said they didn't work together because I think she was already gone. Like Saraya was already, Paige was already gone from WWE at the time when Jamie was there. And I think she was, and she's mentioned like she wants to work with Toni Storm as well. And so like I could see those definitely being, and then at some point, Chris Statlander will be back. She did say, she actually tweeted today that she is not cleared. So I don't know when they're expecting her back, but I mean, and then there's Ruby. I think Saraya and Ruby could probably do some cool stuff.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities. And also, where'd you go with Jade? I mean, does Jade end up going for the main title and doing like a Keith Lee in NXT sort of thing, where he's a North American champion, but then he goes for the main title?
Right. They could. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing, because we've talked about that like several episodes ago, like where we were trying to figure out like where, because do they get her? Because clearly they're going to get her to 50-0, but at least to 50-0. But January 5th will be 1 year since she's held the title, which obviously is the day after the Seattle show. But there's also, now we found it. So we were talking about it. And then I think right after we discussed it, they announced Battle of the Belts for that weekend. So we're like, does she get to, we think she'll obviously get to the 1 year mark. She'll probably get, this Friday will be, she's going for her 45th win. So I guess they will get her to 50 maybe, and the 1 year. And then maybe she drops it and at Battle of the Belts maybe, because they typically do at least one title change at Battle of the Belts. So so I'm wondering if they keep it on her all the way through Revolution. But in January they also do like the big, because they did the Holiday Bash and they do Winter is Coming, and then January they do like the Bash at the Beach type of thing. So I don't know if they'll do it at like one of the themed shows, or if they'll take her all the way through Revolution, or have her do it at like Battle of the Belts. And it'll be interesting to see where she goes from here, because she's undefeated so far, like, and is losing her first match going to set her back? I mean, Jade doesn't seem like the type of person who, like, that just feels like it's just going to piss her off that somebody actually beat her, and she's like so I could see her going, maybe she does go for the women's championship, or
it'll also be interesting to see what they do with Wardlow as well.
That's a good point.
Do they have him go against MJF?
I think that's coming. I don't know how quickly.
I hope so. They need to kind of keep him.
They need to go back to that, because
running.
I mean, at the end of the day, he squashed MJF in that match. Whatever pay-per-view it was, Double or Nothing.
Yes.
So why is he not challenging for the title? He should be. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and we've also talked about the fact that we think especially because they've had Jack Perry is kind of because he's by himself now and he's away from Luchasaurus. Christian is hurt, that they need to. One of his earliest feuds was MJF, so I would like to see them rekindle that feud, because I think they're one of those people. They're like, we've talked about who are like always destined to wrestle each other, and I think MJF and Jack and Jungle Boy are always gonna be somebody that feud. So I don't know if they do that feud first and then move into Wardlow, or do Wardlow now, because he's kind of hot coming off of the, because he did have the championship, the TNT title. So do they do that now and then save Jungle Boy for after Wardlow? So the good thing with MJF is he's got a couple of built-in stories that they could go with.
He's pissed off a lot of people.
Christian Yeah, it kind of depends when Christian comes back as well. I think that's a ways away anyway. I don't think that's anytime soon. So, but that's obviously a match they're going to eventually go back to, whether it's Christian just turning up one week and attacking him. I think that's how they should do it. They shouldn't have him. Christian should go away now completely, because I think they need to drop the whole thing with Christian for a while, and then when he does come back, then they obviously can.
And so it feels like and because they've gotten Luchasaurus away from him too, it kind of feels like they're pushing Jack Perry into different, like they're trying to, because he is somebody they named as a pillar, but they haven't done a lot with him solo, and I think now is like going into like 2023. I think should be. That's kind of like they did with Sammy Guevara this year, where they pushed Sammy a lot.
I mean, speaking of Sammy, they could do something with Jack where he could hold the TNT title, maybe.
Yeah,
like Sammy
I think.
Did.
I think Jack would be. I think I would really like to see him hold the TNT championship next year. I think that'd be
awesome.
Yeah, especially if they're trying to push it, because I feel like he's kind of got pulled away a little bit, as their focus has kind of shifted to. I mean, they're still. I mean, I guess they've kind of pulled away from Darby a little bit too, but they use Darby a lot more than they do. Jungle Boy, and I think they've kind of transitioned into where they're referring to him more as Jack Perry. Like he said, he doesn't think that he'll drop Jungle Boy because a lot of his younger fans, which I get it, and so, but I think they're kind of. So I think they're trying to get people into using it. So the Jack Perry character that we kind of see now, like see him doing the solo run. And I think a TNT championship is probably how you kind of push him to the next level.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, what do you think, guys? Is that any other thoughts on the future and the?
There's we could be here all night.
Of course, obviously, but I mean, for this episode, for the sake of this episode, not overburdening human beings. So, David, tell people where they can find you.
I suppose. I don't really know. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you can get all my shows on there. But other than that, I think if you go to CMR Nashville, I do 2 weekly shows there. You can follow me on Twitter at dlevel1986, at dlevel1986 on Twitter. And
on Twitter.
Anything else, I don't really know. I've
definitely check out the music shows.
On Spotify. If you search for it on Spotify, you can find shows, one with Mel and one with Sam, and also Mel and Sam together talking about the Naomi and Sasha situation from earlier on this year. So yeah,
that's right. That was a fun show.
That was.
So glad. I'm so glad we were able to get you on here after.
Yeah, so am I.
So that's
definitely.
It's been really great.
Thank you for making time for us to come pop on with us. We really appreciate it.
Sorry, my laptop battery.
That's quite all right.
I'm lucky. I've got a major winter storm. My sister told me apparently they're referring to it as the Grinch storm headed our way. So we could see high winds and blizzard conditions.
Yeah, we're supposed to be getting a lot of high winds tomorrow, and it's supposed to. We're not. I don't think we're getting like anything that you're getting, but yeah, they're talking about high winds.
Happy Christmas! It's supposed
to be really cold this weekend, so definitely probably a good thing we recorded early in the future.
So we appreciate everyone coming to hang out with us. We appreciate all of the clicks this week. You guys, love you. Thank you so much. Yes. People talking back to us on social media. It's been really, really awesome. And I mean, Revolution is right around our 1 year time frame. So that was kind of a favorite period of mine. I was glad that we got that in there.
Yes.
So,
for sure.
I don't know. Everybody's all set?
Yeah, I think so. And
look, that's the horn sounding the end of the Powerbombshells.
Those horns like to come visit. They like to come every show, even on a recorded one. They still show us some love.
I live by trains and horns. What can I say? My friends like to say I live in Silent Hill. So. All right, so this has been the Powerbombshells number 44. I am Mel. That was Sam. That's David Lovell. Thank you for joining us so much. Everybody have a wonderful holiday, and we will talk to you on the 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern.